All right, all right, all right. Answers by guess. Week 14, guess. Holy crap. What's up,
We
bud?
just started.
I
We
feel
just
like it just
started.
started, man. I agree. I
I'm going
totally
to say,
agree.
the one thing, like this season's been, it's been a crazy season. Um,
Muy interesante.
and, you know, we all should have saw last night coming. At the Tuesday show, when I did the answers with guests, like if I knew Baker was going to play,
Look what I wrote.
baby maker. I wrote Baker, my baby maker. Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Uh-oh, where's he going? Where is that man going? I think I know what he's gonna go get. Show it to him.
Don't ask me why.
What is that?
It's a piece of wood.
You're carving wood of Baker Mayfield.
I know. You want to
Is
know
that what
where
you
I
do in
got
your
this?
free time?
You want to know where I got this?
Where'd you get it
Right.
from?
This was a couple years ago. This was a guy that in one of the card rooms. We talk about we're into sports cards and whatnot, and he like made these, and it was a Raz. If you don't know what a Raz is, it's like a random. You know what it is, but they might not. And it's like I don't know what he was valuing this at, and it could have been any player. So like he makes these. It's like a craft, but he's like, oh, I'm gonna razz my craft. And he might have been valuing it $50, might even been 20. I don't know. But you buy like 10 spots, so they're like $2 a piece or $5, whatever it was. So I bought a spot and I won. So he's like, well, who do you want? This was like 2, 3 years ago, and I still love Baker. Everybody knows that watches the show. Even though I'm a Green Bay fan, this was why I was kind of a closet Browns fan, big Nick Chubb fan in college, big Baker fan. They both went there. I was like, I think I kind of like the Browns. So I was like, I don't know, Baker? Okay. So,
I love that he has the stash.
yeah.
That makes it that much better.
And it looks like he's got, I don't think that's
Eye
a
black, right?
I don't think that's a cut under his eye. It might just be the wood, but it looks kind of cool. It looks like he got punched.
Yeah, looks like he has like a black eye.
Gangster.
I love it.
So, like, here's the thing. Like, I said this, I think a couple weeks ago, I was talking about like plays and whatnot. So, guys at work, they're asking me on maybe Tuesday, who you like this week? Because last week I was 4-1. The only one I lost was Miami. All right, who do you like? And we were going through. And I was like, what? I like the Raiders. Raiders -6. Like I like it. John Wolford or whatever. And, Bryce Perkins. Like they're not gonna be able to do anything. And then later in the day is when Baker goes there. So we come into work the next day, and they're both like, I kind of like your Raiders idea. Like they're not going to use Baker, and even if he comes and he's been terrible, in the back of my head, I'm like, but Baker's my guy. Like, I hope Baker doesn't play. And then that night, right before the game, if anybody, I'm sure most people were watching it, Al Michaels, like, said something, like, along the lines of, like, like, this has the makings of, like, something magical or whatever. And then lo and behold, Baker comes in the second drive, looks pretty good, stumbles a little bit towards the end of the half, and has those 2 drives at the end. And sure enough, and like I came into work today, I was like, I've never been so happy to lose money.
So,
Like I didn't even.
but I get where you're coming from.
But you know what? It didn't even matter because I had Van Jefferson over his yardage totals, and that touchdown at the end put him over. So it was like they canceled each other out. So I didn't really lose. I just lost some juice, and I had Cam Akers to score a touchdown, which was on plus 170 odds. So it was almost like 2-1. So I actually ended up positive, and Baker won. So I was very happy. But I told them I'm sorry that you lost money on the Raiders. But price you pay when you play with Baker, baby.
Dude,
Let's see if it continues, because now I don't know what I'm going to do next week because it's playing against Green Bay.
That's
It's
true.
almost like I can't win and I can't lose.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be happy no matter what, it seems like.
I think so.
It's funny. Hollins was doing the gritty on the punt on the 2-yard line. He's there. They're all excited. What a dude's like, I got him.
Oh, yeah, sniffing.
Yeah.
You know what? Listen, it was great. And anybody watching this show for these 6 years, that we keep it real. Like if we make a mistake, we own up to the mistake. If we do good, we don't gloat about it too much. So like that's how I am. And yes, Baker looked amazing, but they had a couple penalties that helped them out. So
he had a couple underthrown balls too, man. That he had the guys wide open on the side, but I agree with you.
It wasn't great. They got some help, but when it mattered, he made 2 really good throws, Skoranek and then Van Jefferson, and that's all they really needed. So this is what it is, and I was very happy, very, very happy for Baker. So hopefully it continues. We'll see.
All right, let's go through the spiel real quick. Remember, guys, like us Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Always look for those hashtags, Answers by Guests and ABGFF. Bimageddon Part 3, Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Indianapolis Colts, New Orleans Saints, and Washington Commanders. Plus all the injuries. Why even have a week 14?
I don't understand. I don't get it. They need to do week 6 to 12.
They don't care about fantasy, obviously. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
They don't, but they could go week 6 to 12, even 5 to 12. Right, 7 weeks, 4 teams a week, and then 2 weeks with, or 2 or 4 weeks with 5 teams, and like just get it over with. This is too late. It's too late for fantasy. It's too late for regular football. Like imagine, like these teams had to play 13 straight weeks, and then there's some people that had to buy in week 5 or 6, and compress it a little bit. It'll be okay.
All right, let's go on to the first one here, though. New York Jets at Buffalo Bills. It's supposed to be a snowy game. 50% chance of snow, but it's in Buffalo. Jets could have won a couple times last week. They made a couple mistakes, but Barrios just dropped the ball in the end zone. I think this team, Michael Carter coming back, how does that change the backfield situation? Mike White's been throwing the ball okay, but Garrett Wilson has just been a monster. I think you can have to leave him out there. What about Elijah Moore against this Buffalo defense that has been trending okay? Their linebacker, but their secondary is not that great. They seem to be getting the ball moved on them. Everybody picking up James Cook, man. Bam on the other side too. I think that's the biggest question I've seen all week. Am I starting James Cook or am I starting Bam? Let's know your thoughts on that, as well as who else we should be looking for.
Yeah, Corey Davis we liked last week, and he looked really good. We liked him 2 weeks ago. We were a week ahead. I think he might have been a guesstimator, if I'm not mistaken. And then the next week, he did really well. Right?
That is correct, sir.
2 weeks ago, not last week. Who was the guesstimator last week?
That's a great question. I would have to look it up.
Who cares?
Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. They didn't need him to. They scored every single possession and ran all over Jacksonville.
What's the spread on it this week?
And whatnot, but
aren't they what they call
the favorites?
How is that even possible?
Are the
Vikings 10-2?
They were -3, and I think it's 1.5 now. So people must be putting money on the Vikings, or people might be coming to their senses. Who knows?
Yeah.
But as far as this game
later.
Like I like Donovan Knight, and your coach there said that he's not going anywhere, even if Michael Carter's healthy. So James Robinson his career, I think, is over. Unfortunately, very sad story. I gave birth to him. He was amazing. And, he was good last year with poor coaching. They weren't using him in the beginning. Once they started using him, he was great. And he got hurt. And he even looked good at the beginning of this year. But I think, I don't know, it's not looking good. If you can't run it with the Jets, who have been running all over everybody pretty much this year. It's going to be tough. But going against Buffalo, it's going to be tough. But he's in that Brees Hall role, and that is a valuable one and a one where you can get some points. So I'm fine throwing him out there this week. Garrett Wilson, like you said, keep him in. Conklin over Uzoma. I would look elsewhere, especially because this week we got a couple guys who, when we get in the games, that are guys that I mentioned very early in the season or much earlier in the season that are finally starting to come around. So I'd probably play them over Conklin in this one. I'm still not trusting Elijah Moore. I still feel like you know me, I want to go sexy.
Yeah.
But I'd still rather play Corey Davis is grotesque and unsexy that
He's looking
is.
at it. You got to think about it. Him and Mims, Moore and Mims seem to be splitting out back and forth between each other. Corey Davis is the consistent number 2 over there.
And your issue here is that I think, I know you don't want to hear it, but I think last year's repeating itself a little. Mike White, first game burst on the scene, second game okay for fantasy, but didn't really look too good.
Did he have 4 interceptions or something like that the second game?
Yep, and now he's got the Bills, so it's going to be tough. The Bills were looking a little sketchy for a few weeks. Should have lost to Detroit. Last week they played really well, dominated against the Patriots. They've had, 11 days off or whatever to get ready for this one. Back at home, a little bit of snow. That's not going to affect either team. Gabe Davis is somebody that you kind of look at, but he's the ultimate boomer bust. Dawson Knox is forgettable as predicted. So I think the one thing that I'm looking at here, I think if you asked me Zonovan or Cook, I would say Zonovan is safer than Cook, because although I was predicting weeks ago that Cook was starting to come up, I said it for weeks. I said sooner or later it's coming. And last week we feel like it happened. However, I'm going to caution everybody. Not only are the Jets good against the run, but they were in complete domination against the Patriots. And that could be. Now, I'm not saying James Cook is not more talented than Devin Singletary. I'm also not saying the Bills don't want Cook to be the guy over Singletary. But because they were in such control last week, and I know he was in the game early, but because they were in such control, that's why he got so much burn and was in the game more often than Singletary, got more snaps, got more touches, because the Patriots couldn't do anything. So if this game goes the same way, then we'll see, James Cook do kind of what he did last week, but it's going to be tougher. I think the Jets are a little better against the run than the Patriots. So if you ask me one or the other, I'm going Zonovan Knight, because I do think the Bills will be leading in this game, and I think Zonovan Knight can catch a bunch of passes to sort of get the ball out of Mike White's hand. So I think the Bills are going to win this one. I'm not a Bills hater, but I'll be rooting for the Jets. So you got that on your side. But Garrett Wilson, fire him up. I mean, there's going to be guys this week that you have to fire up. I mean, I got 6 teams, 3 of them, my entire bench is like my starters. They're either hurt or they're on a bye. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm in a predicament. I got to win pretty much in every league to be able to make that final spot in the playoffs, I feel like.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah, I think I clinch one league, and I still have a chance of ending up in the final spot if I lose this week. So, all right, let's go on to the next one here. Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals. Division game, another one. This is division game week, it seems like. As far as the Browns, you mentioned on the Tuesday show, Watson will obviously got some rust and stuff like that. They did run the ball pretty well, but again, going against the Houston team, that's just they're not there. Who do we see playing better? Are we worried about starting our DPJs, our Coopers, and stuff like that? Or does Watson get on track knowing that he has to keep up with Burrow and what we're going to see out of this offense? Higgins kind of took a back seat again to Chase, and you talked about it. Boyd tends to play better when Chase is around. So with Mixon coming back, let's talk about that as well with all their P. Ryan owners that have been using him.
Yeah, well, Watson's going to be better than last week. It's not very hard to be better than last week. He's facing, a 10 times better defense than he faced last week. The one thing he has going for him is the Browns have the Bengals number. I don't think Joe Burrow has ever beat the Browns. Maybe he's beaten them, but he hasn't had very good games against them. I want to say, or at least the past 3, and that includes the one on Halloween. So the Browns play really well against the Bengals. And the Browns aren't a pushover team. I mean, they're winning games. They're beating teams they shouldn't be beating. They are losing some games they have no business losing. But I do think Watson's going to be better. The one problem they might have is Amari Cooper might not play. He's all of a sudden questionable. But Njoku is off the injury list. He's going to have to lean on him heavily. If I were the Browns, I'd be using 2 tight ends. I'd be using Bryant and Njoku. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. David Bell's a little banged up. To Spencer, I suggested DPJ over Michael Gallup, and I really think that's a good play. I'm not worried about last week. Listen, if Watson does bad in this one, the Bengals should build the lead because of it, and they're going to have to throw the ball. DPJ didn't do much last week. Another week of practice is a big thing. I mean, Baker doesn't need it. He doesn't even need practice at all, but Watson practiced leading up to that game and didn't do much. But I have to think Deshaun Watson's going to be better. I like DPJ in this one, and Njoku's fine, obviously. You talked about, Rob. You brought it up, how much he liked the tight ends when he was in Houston. And
you're hearing guys' names that you would never even heard of.
Yeah, and Kareem Hunt looked better last week with him, and that's kind of what I thought might happen. So we'll see if that continues. So I think Hunt is definitely viable with all the buys and all the injuries and whatnot going on. All 3 of the Bengals wide receivers, you have to start them. Hayden Hurst is right there, close enough for me. And Mixon coming back. I don't think P. Ryan's dead. I think, I don't know the exact numbers, didn't look them up. But let's just say, hypothetically, P. Ryan was getting 5 carries a game when Mixon was healthy, or 5 touches. I'm going to see like a 60% jump on that and say he's going to get like 8. Because I think what it might have been is maybe let's just say Mixon was getting 15 and P. Ryan was getting 5. Actually, it was more than that. Let's say Mixon was getting 20 and P. Ryan was getting 5. I think you might see like a 17-8. So you won't see full Mixon because I don't think they're going to take P. Ryan just out because he was rolling. So a couple extra snaps, a couple extra touches. So with all things said this week, with all the buys and injuries, you could certainly do worse than P. Ryan, but it's not going to be great. But he's worth a shot in this one. They're going to need all hands on deck because for whatever reason, the Browns have their number. But Joe Burrow's coming into his own. He's at home, another week back for Jamar Chase. I do think the Bengals do win this one, but it's probably like a 24-20. Don't know what the line is. I'm going to guess it's around 3 or 4 points. But, yeah, so you play your guys here, and I like DPJ. I would roll with DPJ with confidence in this one. To get that one deep ball I thought he'd have last week, he'll get it this week.
They're going to have to open the playbook up a little bit. I mean, you're right. Another week of practice. Watson should be able to at least move the ball a little bit better. I'm looking up the spread, but let's go on to the next one here. Houston Texans at the Dallas Cowboys. For Cowboys, all systems go. You know what? This is actually a question. Say, for example, the Cowboys get a huge lead early this time compared to what they did in the fourth quarter. Are they benching guys? Am I worried starting a Pollard or something like that, or a Zeke, especially if they get up big quickly? Or could this kind of be a surprise game where Houston actually, with Mills coming back as the quarterback, kind of give a challenge to this Cowboys team, even though they're playing well, offense and defense. Texans may be fired up a little bit. Who are we thinking as far as who we can start on the Texans? And then again, all systems go for the Cowboys.
Yeah, you and I were kind of talking before the show, and both of us seem to think that Davis Mills getting benched for a couple weeks, give him a little bit of a mental reset. There was high hopes for him coming in. So I do think that the offense is going to be a little bit better this week. Unfortunately, they're not going to have Nico Collins. They're not going to have Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is definitely out. I think Collins is trending towards out.
Yeah, I think he's doubtful or something.
But, they do have, and I mentioned this in the beginning when I was talking about Conklin, there's one guy who we talked about early in the season who I absolutely love, who finally was active last week, caught a bunch of targets, was on the field a ton. That's Brevin Jordan. So we'll see if that continues with Davis Mills in there. Give the ball to Brevin Jordan. He was my absolute sleeper tight end pick. Coming on towards the end of the year, what better time for him to come on for anybody who's dying at tight end? So Brevin Jordan is somebody you got to watch out for. He could have been a guesstimator this week. And then there's another guy. I don't know. You want to talk about?
I do. I didn't actually make a banner for it, but we're going to call him the ROBIMATOR. I think Chris Moore, man, could have a game. With Nico Collins, he is out. Cooks is already ruled out as well. You're talking Brevin Jordan. They have to be able to move the ball against this Dallas team that's going to pump it down their throat. So it's like those wide receiver target share alone makes them, at least for me, wide receiver 3 flex options in a game that, they may not score a lot, but again, they're going to be some first downs. Houston's going to move the ball. I think Pierce is going to get a big uptick too, which kind of should open up the passing game. And for some reason, Chris Moore just keeps on popping in my head. He's going to be in my DFS lineups this weekend. So,
yeah, and I know Eno was active last week, but he didn't do anything. This is a perfect game to get him going. It's going to take a little bit off of Dameon Pierce's plate, but that could be okay. We don't want to run our rookie into the ground, especially when we're going nowhere. So
my trade's looking better and better, by the way.
Oh, your trade looks amazing. His trade was Dameon Pierce and Cortland Sutton for CMC. So that's just an amazing, amazing trade. Great job. Once again, that's two trades you made at the deadline over the past couple of years that have been rock solid. So kudos to you. You are the man. You are the new trade whore. I didn't make a single trade this year except for the one with you in the preseason. I didn't even look to make trades really this year. I don't know. This year has been odd in my mind, as far as I'm concerned, with myself personally. But regardless, yeah, Chris Moore, dead on. I thought about him. I thought about Brevin Jordan for the guesstimator, and I thought about Philip Dorsett because they're going to have to throw the ball to somebody, and there's 3 guys there. Heck, I could have made it Eno Benjamin. The Texans are down to dire straits. They're playing their scabs, and one of them has to do something. And as far as Dallas goes, like I said, I told Spencer I like DPJ over Gallup, and it's exactly like you said. If Dallas runs away with this thing, what do they need Michael Gallup for? You are steamrolling to a 2 seed at worst, maybe a 3 seed. Oh no, well you're not. You're going to be a 5 seed because the divisions, but the second or third best record, which means you're going to the playoffs. And Michael Gallup is often hurt. Why am I going to keep pushing him out there if we're winning this game by 25 or more? So it's like he could get it early, sure. CD could get it early. Schultz. This week of all weeks, you're not benching those guys. But if you got a better option, for me, DPJ versus Gallup. I love Gallup, always have, but I'm still going DPJ over him. But if you got nothing else, man, Gallup's fine, good to go. And I'm not worried at all about Pollard and Zeke. This could be like, I think both of those guys. I think like if you're talking like DFS, like people are going to be attacking them, and I think most people will probably go after Pollard. And I think Zeke can end up having a bit better game in this one.
I totally agree, especially if they get a big lead. The thing that worries me about Zeke, and I'm starting him in a league, is will he get 2 touchdowns? He's going to have 90-something yards. By halftime, they're up again 20-something points. They get, say, score again coming out of the third. You see more Malik Davis because they know that they already have this game, kind of tied down. Do you see more Noah Brown and those guys being utilized? Dak pulled early. Those are things that I worry about, especially on a week 14 that a lot of people need to win.
And they'll definitely throw Malik out there. I mean, they did it last week. He scored a touchdown. So I don't think it gets that bad. I don't think it gets fourth quarter against Indianapolis bad.
Dude, that was ridiculous. What the heck? They just exploded.
2-point game with 13 minutes left.
Like, what happened? I kind of fell asleep, and all of a sudden I woke up. I'm like, wait, what quarter was I in?
53.
Yeah, it's like, where did this even come from?
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions. We talked about Minnesota earlier in the video going against the Jets. They could have lost that game twice. Jefferson obviously is a must start. Thielen I was high on, didn't play well. Hawk didn't have a great game, it seemed like, either.
Game.
Yeah, beat me right to the point. Mr. Stone for hands, Sponge for hands. Seems to be one of the favorite targets now to Cousins. Is he going to have a blow-up game? Obviously, you're starting Cook. Anybody else we should be staring from this Vikings team? I'm worried about Cousins, but I think they're going to have to keep up with Detroit. It's a weird thing to say, but their offense has been ridiculous. Is it all systems go for the Detroit Lions the same way we're looking at Dallas?
You know that I've been kind of anti-Thielen. It's just like an age thing. And I've also been kind of... I am an ageist. And I've kind of been like an anti-KJ Osborne type of thing, just because I feel like they're just like too inconsistent. They don't really do much. They don't really need them to do much. When you got Justin Jefferson and Irv Smith was doing just fine, and now they got Hawk and the running back, Dalvin Cook, and they've been scoring points. I kind of feel like with this week of all weeks, with the buys and the injuries and this setup, I would play just about anybody I could from either team, I think. And that could be a Joe Public Joe point of view, because I think everybody and their mother thinks that this is going to be the highest scoring game of the week, a shootout back and forth. And usually when everybody and their mother thinks those things, it's 13-9. But I don't think that it's going to be. I just think that the Vikings should be able to pass all over Detroit and do whatever they want. Detroit at home, Jared Goff, 1 p.m. They should be able to pass all over the Vikings. The Vikings pass defense is terrible. They got all their weapons back. Josh Reynolds is back. DJ Chark is back. Jameson Williams with another game under his belt. They're saying they want to get him more involved this week. They're talking about it all day today. I was watching a couple of videos on the Detroit Lions website, and like coaches talked about it, players are talking about all the extra things that they were doing in practice today and yesterday with Jameson Williams, designing specific special plays for him and stuff just to get his feet under him. And they're like, oh, we're excited for this one. So it's like with all that going on, with the tight ends that they're using, 4 of them, DeAndre Swift healthy again, Jamal Williams scores touchdowns. He falls into the end zone from the 1 twice a week. It seems. I want every piece of this game that I could have. Heck, if I was in a big enough pinch, I'd play Justin Jackson.
Wow.
I mean, like, just because he gets enough usage in this game, just could be bonkers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see it. I mean, he is getting touches.
And as I sink into oblivion over here, I mean, everything I just said is something you don't typically hear me say on this show. I very rarely go with the direction that the narrative that the mainstream and the public are saying. but I see it. I feel it. I'm rooting for the Lions. I need 2 more wins so I could hit that win total. It's at 6.5. I need 2 more. This would be a huge one if they could steal this one. They're the favorites. I'm nervous, but I think there's going to be a lot of points.
Over under is 51.5, man.
Yeah.
And from before, it's a 5.5 point spread for Cleveland and Cincy.
Okay. It's going to be a 4-point game.
All right, guys. Remember, always like us: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. We really appreciate you, and we'll be back for part 2 with the next games.
See ya.